Hello, my gorgeous people and listeners. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside Out Effect. This is episode 9, and this week we are going to be covering illness and disease. Through much request from people asking for us, we decided to do a podcast this week on that particular topic. I'm your host, Stephen Jakes from healingthemind.co.uk, and I'm a therapist using the DTO system and a neuro reboot technician. And alongside me, I've got the wonderful and the charismatic, and this week we're going to call you the cuddly Jonathan Shaw.
Cuddly Jonathan
Hello,
Shaw.
Jonathan. How you doing, my friend?
Cuddly. I'm not often described as cuddly, so thank you for that.
I think cuddly.
You think cuddly?
Yeah, nothing wrong with a cuddle.
No, there's nothing wrong with a cuddle, although you said you weren't ever going to mention that again.
I wasn't, no. Now, Jonathan's the creator of the DTO system, which we both use very successfully. He's also been a therapist for 20 years, and he's also author of the book, Decoding Pain, the Emotional Blueprint to Decoding Chronic Pain. And I actually said that right this week.
Close. It's the emotional blueprint to healing chronic pain. You always get that word slightly wrong. You always add that in slightly wrong.
I always get the name of your book right.
I know. You should really read it, shouldn't you, really?
I should read it, yeah.
You might get the name right.
Oh, my word.
Oh, dear. It's all gone to pot now. Yes. What are we doing?
Right, so that's it for this week. We'll be back next week.
This week, yes. When we've got the name and the title of the book right, we'll come back to you, yes.
I get
anyway,
it.
That's enough of the shameless plug about the book.
I get it wrong.
Get on with the podcast.
Okay, so anyway, enough of that, like you say. So how you been, mate?
I've been really good. Been very, very good. I've been super, super busy, which is awesome. I've got helping loads of people. I've missed you this week.
Thanks,
You've
mate.
not been around. You've been sunning yourself and going off gallivanting with your son, but I have missed you. And I'm sure the listeners have missed as well, because we haven't done a podcast for a couple of weeks.
No, we haven't. No.
But no, I've been very, very good. I've had a lot of clients and lots of different things coming to me, a lot of different problems, and some really interesting ones coming to me as well. So that's good, and they've all been getting better as well.
Anything really sort of that's been, I want to say strange, because it's not really the word, but anything that's a little bit out of the ordinary that's been a success for you, or something that you can, that the listeners would probably like to hear about?
Well, it's not necessarily out of the ordinary for me, because I treat a lot of different problems all the time, but I want to cover a couple of things that perhaps may sound out of the ordinary to people. So one of my clients came to me recently, and she was experiencing shooting pain going up her back and hip pain. Now, this particular lady is pregnant, and she was partly putting her pain down to the fact she's pregnant, and partly down to the fact she was laying on a mattress on the floor.
Well, I mean, mattresses are killers these days.
Well, that's right,
I mean?
apparently so, yeah. And so this lady came to me first with a shooting pain going up her back, and she, like most pregnant women, believe that the pregnancy is causing the back pain. Now, I want to point out, I've treated people for many, many years. Pregnancy does not cause back pain. I don't believe whoever put us on this earth would say, you know what, we'll give women this amazing ability to give life, to create beautiful life and give birth to amazing people, but when they're pregnant, we'll cause them to suffer with it.
Yeah.
It's complete nonsense.
Yeah,
but we get taught it, because if you do get pain when you're pregnant, you just go to doctors and he goes, oh, it's the pregnancy, and they just brush it off. Has absolutely nothing to do with it. So what this lady did came to me, and I looked at the way she was moving. So one of the 3 causes of pain is the way someone moves. And I treated the back a little bit. She did have a trapped nerve, and I released that for her. But I looked at the way she was moving, and basically what she was doing, she was using her back to move rather than her legs. So her legs were too far apart, and she was probably doing this because she felt she had to do that to carry the weight of the baby, and that's just not true. You don't have to do that, ladies. If you stand correctly with your feet at the correct distance apart, and for women, your feet should be slightly narrower than your hip width. So not the same as your hip width, but slightly narrower than your hip width. And if your legs are in that position, you'll be able to support yourself and the baby, and you won't put any external pressure on your back. But what she was doing is she was actually sitting and standing incorrectly as well. So she was sitting and standing using her back rather than her legs. She wasn't pushing with her legs out of a chair and sitting down with her legs into a chair. And this was causing the shooting pain up her back. So we fixed that, and then she came to me the next week with the hip pain, and she believed the hip pain was caused by the mattress.
Due to pregnancy?
Well, no, she actually believed it was due to the mattress, because she couldn't sleep in the bed at this time because her partner just had an operation and he was sleeping with their son. So she was sleeping on the floor with a very thin mattress, and she bought into the idea the mattress was causing the pain, because when she laid down at night, that's when she got the pain, when she laid on the mattress. However, that's not really the way pain works. External things don't cause pain, it just looks like they do. So what's actually happening is, because she had her hips so far apart, she was actually stressing her hips all day long.
Right.
So all day long her hips were in stress, and they were doing something in a position they shouldn't be in. At night, when you lay down, you go into repair.
Yeah.
Now, repair phase is where you get pain. You don't get pain in the stress state. And we're going to cover the two phases in a minute when we talk to illness and disease. This is an example of the two phases. But at night, that's when you get the repair. And that's when your muscles ache. So, of course, when she lay down, she went into repair. So all I did was showed her how to correct her standing movements and her walking with her hips. 1 week later, she comes back and she says her hips have not felt this good in ages. She's still sleeping on the mattress. There's no change. So it was unusual because most people don't hear of that. Most people don't go to the doctors when they're in pain, or they don't get pain resolved when they're pregnant because they just blame the pregnancy or the mattress. It has nothing to do with those things. If it was, I wouldn't be able to solve this lady's pain. And I've been able to solve other people's pain in the same way by not blaming the object.
I think it's really, really common. You speak to so many people that have got pains, aches, pains, sicknesses, illnesses, bugs or whatever, and it'll always be, oh, it's because of my chair, it's because of my work, it's because of the way I've been sleeping, it's the mattress, it's, I've been driving too long, this, that and the other, and it's all the time we're always blaming something external for the discomforts that we have. And for me, I've done that for most of my life until obviously I started learning a lot more about what really causes pain. But I myself was guilty of it for many times. I remember when I first met you, and you telling me about my back. I went, no, it's not that.
You did.
Yeah,
you flatly denied it. You flatly denied what I was saying, and I just sort of left you to it. I was like, and that's what I do. If people I often give advice to strangers, but we met at networking.
You did at networking,
and I was trying to help you. I see you're struggling. And you was going, no, it's definitely this, mate. And you didn't listen to me at all.
No, I didn't listen to you.
And that's okay. You know, people often don't, and I don't actually normally offer advice when I just meet someone and they actually ask me for it. But that's the
problem is because of that. Because we're told and we learn and we hear and we read and we watch and we do so much nonsense. And the other thing as well is the other thing we do, and I say this to everyone that comes and sees me, when I do my little preamble about what we do is we'll get a feeling. Now the pain will be a feeling. Then we make shit up. Then we believe the shit we make up and then we behave in accordance with it. That's what we do mentally, physically and emotionally. And we're doing it all the time.
And we have been trained to do that through society. It's a fantastic way to sell pillows, mattresses, chairs. It's a brilliant way to sell new things. But unfortunately, it's not the cause of pain. And
them creams you rub in for your
all those creams you see on the TV that have this take the burning away.
Yeah. Well, gets right to the point.
Coil, and unfortunately, that's not pain. That's not how pain works. Yeah. So it is a bit of a problem. But because we're so indoctrinated with this belief system that external things create pain,
and it's symptom management again,
and it's managing symptoms. Whereas this lady was suffering, and it was very simple. Within a couple of weeks, all the pain was solved. And I actually posted this on a sample of this on Instagram, and a lady messaged me saying, "Oh my God, that's genius! I wish I'd known this a year ago when she was pregnant." Yeah. And because it would solve the pain quite dramatically. Now, yes, this lady also had a trapped nerve which I had to release, and she needed her muscles worked a little bit. But just by correcting your posture, not your posture, the way you're moving, because posture's a myth. The way you're moving, if you correct the way you move, then actually your pain will reduce quite a bit, if not go. There are 3 things that cause pain, but movement's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I can verify that because obviously, you know, with me and my back issues that I've had over the last many years, since coming to see you and changing just a few the way I've been standing and where I'm putting all my where I'm sitting and how I'm sitting and where I'm just changing my leg positions where I'm standing and stuff, it's made a massive difference to me. And I also feel I've got stronger by doing that as well.
You will do, because you're using your legs properly. Yeah. So you're not using your back or your other parts of your body to move. You're actually using your legs. So your legs become stronger. Yeah. And the other parts of your body relax off and ease. Yeah. I've had clients come to me and they weren't able to strengthen their knees or their glutes. One guy came to me and he couldn't strengthen his glutes. And no matter what exercise he did, no matter what physio he went to or what expert in techniques he went to in exercise, his glutes wouldn't strengthen. And part of the problem was because the person who was giving the exercise was not an expert in movement. They might have been an expert in exercise, but not in movement. So when he was doing his movements, he still wasn't using his legs properly. Yeah. So he was actually using his back to move rather than his legs. So his glutes would never strengthen. And every time he walked, every time he went somewhere, he was still using his back, not his legs.
So you look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame with very weak legs.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit like that, except he didn't quite have the massive hump there. But he wasn't quite stooped over that much. Yes. But he was actually, but it's a funny image in my mind because I know him quite well, so I can see that now. But no, he was actually quite an athletic person. He was a tennis player. Yeah. And he just once I taught him how to move correctly and showed him how to do the exercise correctly with the correct movement, his body started to strengthen again.
Yeah.
So it does weaken you, and people don't realise it. And the way we move is very important. And I could spend a whole day lecturing on how we move. I have, pretty much, yes. Once we got past the whole
and
book,
so next week we'll be talking about
exactly.
illness and disease.
And the other one I want to talk about, which is illness and disease, I really want to specify this, is a lady heard our anxiety talk, and she contacted me, and she has health anxiety. She has other anxiety as well, but the main one's health anxiety.
The lavender rooms?
No. all the anxiety talk we talked about on the podcast. Yeah. Okay. She contacted me from Florida, and she's been suffering from health anxiety, and she tried absolutely everything to get rid of the health anxiety. She's been to so many things, she's learnt so many things, and within a few weeks, I spoke to her last night, her health anxiety is now 50% better. So in a few short weeks, we've reduced it by 50%. We're still working together, but it's now reduced. It's now starting to go.
Yes.
And she's had it for a long time.
That's fantastic.
But now it's starting to heal, and she didn't think that was ever going to be possible. So I just wanted to say to you that, that health anxiety is actually one of the worst ones. I actually had a guy come to me recently, and he was unable to sleep with health anxiety because of something happened on his honeymoon. And he's been struggling to sleep, and that made it worse, and now we've actually got him back to sleep, and he's actually sleeping better now, and we're now just dealing with bits around the edges. But his health anxiety was so bad, he was frightened to go to sleep. So it's
he's okay now?
He's much better now. Again, he's about 60% better, and we're still working together, but in the past 4 or 5 weeks, it's reduced right the way down.
That's fantastic. And a lot of people out there are probably suffering with this for tens of years, tens of years.
People suffer with sleep problems all the time. They don't really understand the root cause of it, so they can never really change it. Yeah. But it's quite a simple thing to change once you know where the root cause is, and you use DTO, it will gradually switch off.
Yeah, fantastic.
So. What about you? I know you've been away, but you've had some good case studies.
I have actually. I had a lovely time. I went to Spain with my son. Went to a fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. It was really good. I don't get to see him very often, so when I do, I try to spoil him as much as I can. Well, not so spoil him, but spend as much quality time with him as I can. Yeah. I have to fly over to Ireland and pick him up, and then have to fly him back here, and then within a couple of days, I'm flying back out to Spain. Cracking holiday. Apart from we had one little accident where he slipped on one of the water slides that they have at the hotel. It's like a water park hotel, and he slipped. He was climbing up one of the slides, and he slipped, went down and broke his tooth in half.
Did he break the slide, or?
He broke the slide.
Oh dear, damn it! Yeah, that's not good. Damn it.
So.
Hope the slide's okay.
I was insured, so...
Brilliant. No, I'm teasing folks, no.
So
he's all right, though, isn't he?
Today, I got back... I got back yesterday night about 5:30, and I'd already booked an appointment with a dentist, went to see the dentist this morning, and I've already remade his tooth. Brilliant. So he's sitting in the other room right now watching
Toy Story. Yeah, he seems happy. We've had a little chat, a little conversation. He's paid me... £1 trillion today. Paid me £1 trillion. It is invisible £1 trillion, which I think is even cooler.
He's such a cracking little boy, and I'm so proud of him. No, he's such a good kid, and he really managed it well. The funny thing was that whilst after he'd done it, he was really traumatised by it, and met this lovely girl called Imogen out there. She was like the rep there. Anyway, she had the same thing happen to her when she was a kid, so she was like talking to him and telling him it was all right, but that sort of calmed him down a little bit. So anyway, I went back up to the room, and I was just cuddling him, really. I just had him in my arms, and I was cuddling him. He was crying away, and I just DTO'd it. I said to him, like, when you think about it, because he kept saying, I can't stop thinking about doing it, which was reliving it over and over again. So what I did is I said, okay, I said, when you think about that, I said, I didn't ask him, I said, when you think about that, is that working for you? Would you like to think something else? And he was like, yeah. And I just DTO'd the trauma bit out of it. Within about 10 minutes of me doing that, he was quiet on the bed watching the cartoons in Spanish, and he's been absolutely fine ever since. So that was fantastic for me, because I've been able to actually use it on my little boy.
A lot of people have been using DTO on their kids. It works very well on kids because they have very little in their system, so things drop out quickly. And I actually had a lovely message from one of my past DTO students from 2016. She just messaged me randomly out of the blue saying, thank you so much for DTO. I had a trauma, I cleared it myself, and I use it on teenagers all the time. It works like a charm. And this is a highly trained therapist in her own right. And she said it just works so quick, and it was just out of the blue. I didn't even, it was a lovely message to get out of the blue from somebody, who's used it in the past, who's learned it in the past. Yeah, so I had a really good holiday. I obviously come back, but just before I went away, I've had some really, really great results using the DTO system.
In particular, I had somebody who had anxiety for nearly 20 years. Really struggled with everything, and she couldn't go out, she couldn't go to new places, she couldn't meet new people, she couldn't basically do anything really. She would just suffer everywhere she went, and it was crippling her life. So she was never able to go out of her house. Every time she thought about going out of her house, she would then get anxiety. Every time she thought about speaking to anybody new, she would literally not be able to communicate, just like me just then. I had a
yeah.
I
just you want me to do some detail on you?
Yeah, please.
Or, yeah?
Could you?
So is that working for you?
I've got podcast anxiety.
Okay, podcast anxiety.
So she, so she really struggled with her whole life. She, she wouldn't go to new classes, do anything new, and so she really struggled with that. And she came to see me. And she's had it for 20 years, I believe. I think that was the figure. She's about 20 years. And I think within 50 minutes, I managed to switch the whole lot off. And I had to go to... That was just before I went on holiday. And I went into town to get my euros, to change my euros up. And funny enough, I bumped into her in my precinct. I was like, oh, hello. Bearing in mind, I'd seen her a couple of hours before. I said, what are you doing in town? And she turned around and said, I'm off to the gym.
Great.
And so, that made me feel so great, because ultimately, she'd been suffering for so long. And I sort of knew this woman before she came and saw me anyway. Right. And she said, I wanted to come and see you, but I was too anxious. So,
Yeah, that can sometimes be the problem.
Yeah, but
20 years of anxiety gone
about 20 years.
in just under an hour. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it turned, it was. And then to see her a bit later on going to the gym really reinforced that. That it had worked.
Yeah, because she wouldn't have been able to do that before.
No, no way. I mean, she wouldn't. She knew me. I mean, she very struggled to come and see me, and I'm quite a friendly, approachable guy, and so, and she would always stop and talk to me, and I knew her quite well, so for her to actually come to me about that. So anyway, really great success story of that. Really pleased with that one. That was a real win for me. And also there was another young lady. It's a new girl that I've been seeing. It's only the second week. She drives a long way to come and see me. Actually, she drives a good few hours to come and see me. And one of her issues was she has massive problems with spending money. And she's a very successful young lady, very, very attractive young lady, very successful. But she said to me, "Oh God, this is getting ridiculous." I mean, she bought 2 cars in the last 3 months.
Oh wow!
As well as spending, and she spends wastes her money on crap. Well, that was her exact words. I just spend my money on crap all the time, and it's getting to the point now where it's escalating more and more and more and more and more. And so I just obviously there's a lot of self-worth issues going on there. She's always going on about her not being good enough. My main thing is I'm not good enough, and so once I found out the core thing was that she's basically just spending money to give herself a temporary distraction or a temporary hit from the way that she was feeling. And so, she was really successful and lots of money in a very short period of time. She's virtually skinted herself because she can't stop spending the money. So anyway, so I got to these self-worth issues, and I got to the beliefs that she had about herself. And once I switched them off, at the time she was like, "Well, I don't think it's worked." And then 3 or 4 days later, I was sitting next to the pool on my holiday, and I go onto Facebook, and there's a massive thing just telling me how grateful she is, that's how much it's changed her life. And next day, her mother phoned me up and said, "I know you're on holiday, but I can't believe what you've done to my cat." I said, "What's that?" She goes, "Since she's seen you, she's a different person, completely different person." So I was like, "Oh, thank you very much for calling me today." She goes, "No, I haven't phoned you up to tell you that. I want to come and see you."
Oh, brilliant! That's fantastic.
So now I'm seeing Mum.
Oh wow!
As well, so that was really, really great. The fact that, because I know for a fact that she's now stopped spending money. She's gone. I think she normally spends about £300 on crap. Now it's down to £15.
Wow.
So that was a really, really good success. And Mum phoned me up to thank me. And she said she can't believe the change in her. So really pleased with that. It's 2 really cracking results for me. I've had some other ones as well, obviously, because I'm seeing a hell of a lot of people now. But they're the 2 standout ones for me, really, that made me feel really.
Yeah, that's
made me feel good.
Yeah, because when your family around you or the people, your friends around you, recognise the change, that's actually very powerful. Because often the people themselves, they do recognise it, but they don't always totally recognise the change. Obviously with instant ones like that they do, but it's not always instant. Sometimes it takes a few weeks to clear things.
She's a cat. Like we have dogs that get it straight away, and they get it, and cats that take a long time for them to go away until little drip feeding. She's definitely a cat, because like I say, I always text the people the next day, And I said to her, "Oh, how are you feeling today? Hey, you know, you're in a good place. Where are you at? Let me know where you're at." When she texted me back, she said, "To be quite honest, I don't know. I don't feel anything. I don't know if it's worked."
Yeah.
And that was the next morning.
That's right, yeah.
3 or 4 days later, she's all over Facebook going, "My life's changed. I can't thank this man enough." So it's just funny how those things take a little bit of...
sometimes the cells need a chance to settle. When you take something out, the cells need a chance to settle for the cells to readjust themselves and the brain chemistry to readjust itself to almost take you back to being who you are. And it takes a few days for it to settle sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I can just vouch for that because I think that's because obviously having my son and being really busy with some stuff we're going to go on about in a minute, but I found myself not having given myself a break, and I've noticed a huge change, a really big change in me in the last couple of weeks. Not doing anything.
Yes.
Yeah, and I found myself being really confident, really happy, and really centered and grounded, and I feel great.
You did so much work. All that work has now had a chance to settle.
Yeah.
And as it's now settled, you've just gone to being more of who you are.
Yeah.
But you did require that settling period. Sometimes I have to stop for a week and to give myself a chance to settle, to find out what else is there, or just to see how much of it has gone. So that after you've done quite a lot, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, cool. Right, okay, so, 20 minutes in and we haven't even done a...
No, we're going to get on to a good bit now, guys.
So just to let you know that we have, Jonathan and myself now have officially launched the Inside Out Effect as a business. It's quite funny, really, because we talk about law of attraction quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the day that we set the business up, we went and had lunch, didn't we?
That's
and
right.
We were planning what we was going to put on our banners and stuff. I come home and believe it or not, within 4 hours of us setting that business up, I got a phone call from someone who I haven't spoken to for a while, and he basically phoned me up and said, I might have got you into my business.
Yeah.
just like unbelievable. Yeah. So people who think the law of attraction is a load of old nonsense, as soon as we set up the business, we haven't even advertised it, and someone phoned me up asking us to go and work with their stuff. And it's a very big company in London. It's a huge agency in London. So that was just law of attraction.
Law of attraction works absolutely perfectly once you clear your blocks.
So we've got no blocks around that.
No, we haven't got blocks around it. Yeah. And we are doing another law of attraction workshop on the 21st of August.
17th.
Apologise. 17th of August.
Yeah.
In Grays, and you can find that on Eventbrite, or you can go to our website. It's actually it's not on our website. It's on our Facebook page. On mine, Jonathan Shaw's and Stephen's. It's on now. And if you can't find it, just email us and we'll send you a link. It is in the UK, obviously. It's a live workshop, but if anyone wants to attend that, it's a 2-hour workshop on us teaching.
Which normally takes 4 hours.
Normally takes 4 hours. I did the one they did while he was away. While he was away, that was another 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
it was a full, and everyone was so enthusiastic and asked lots of questions, and it opened their eyes to how to get law of attraction to work for you fully.
Yeah.
So yes, that is going to be happening again, and we've got quite a few other talks about that booked up.
Yeah, we have. We've got and also we've got our own workshop that we're going to be doing, which is going to be an extensive 4-day workshop where myself and Jonathan will hoping teaching a whole wide range of just more than the workshop. It's actually going to get it to work for you in its entirety, and we're going to cover the whole lot about getting law of attraction to work and how to clear all your guilts and shames and stuff that go.
And we're going to teach the DTO system to clear the guilts and shames. We're actually teaching you how to use DTO to clear your sabotage, your blocks, your past traumas to get law of attraction to work for you.
Yes, and we know from our own experience that works, especially in my experience and many of the people that I work with. As soon as I start clearing their stuff starts to happen for them.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so let's get on to the actual main body content of the podcast, and we're going to be talking about illness and disease.
Yeah.
Then there's plenty of illness and disease in the world, and everyone's always talking way too much. Yeah, we're always talking about it, and everyone's always got a point of view or a perspective or an explanation or a reason. But today, I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to be handing over to Jonathan, who's going to talk about the traditional viewpoint of where the traditional viewpoint operates from, and the model that you follow. Yeah. So let's go with the traditional viewpoint. And
okay. Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, the traditional. There's so much illness and disease out there at the moment, and the truth is, it's not getting better; it's getting worse. We're not getting better with illness and disease; we're getting worse with it, and more people are having them. And the problem is with the model that we all follow, the traditional model of why we become ill and diseased, doesn't work. And we can see it doesn't work because everyone's getting sicker and sicker. So the traditional model is when you're ill and diseased, that you're broken and you've malfunctioned, you've gone wrong somehow. And when you look at it like that, you can't fix it because it's like we're mechanical and we can't be fixed. Now, I'm going to explain to you why doctors or traditional medicine believe we're mechanical and we've broken and malfunctioned somehow. So it comes from actually science. So medicine took their understanding of illness and disease from science. And it came from the 1600s when Isaac Newton was around. I'm sure everyone's heard of Isaac Newton, who discovered gravity. And at that time, in the 1600s, before Isaac Newton came along, there were two schools of theory about the world. One was the world was mechanical, and one the world was energetic, and they just argued it out. But when Isaac Newton came along and discovered gravity, everyone went, oh wow, gravity, that's mechanical, so the world must be mechanical. And even the energists went, oh my god, it must be mechanical. So the scientists then said, well, the world's mechanical, and doctors went, well, okay, if the world's mechanical, then people are mechanical, so we'll treat everyone mechanically. And from the 1600s onwards, that's how they viewed illness and disease. However, in the 1800s, Einstein came out and proved categorically that the world is made of energy. When he did his E=mc² thing, and he's proved, categorically that it is energetic, and since then, all the inventions that we've had since then, like laptops, smartphones, all of these X-ray machines, CT scans, microwaves, all of that is actually born out of Einstein's theory that everything is made of energy. And even the doctors, what the doctors use now to diagnose you, the CT scans, the MRIs, the X-ray machines, they are all reading an energy field. They're not reading anything physical. So they are reading your energy, which is Einstein. So ask yourself if this makes sense. The way they diagnose you now, the way traditional medicine diagnose you, is that everything is made of energy, so they read your energy field. But they still treat you like you're mechanical from the 1600s. Now, if anyone can actually write in and say that's logic, I'd have to punch them because that's not logical. I've put that to people loads of times, and not one person be able to say that that's logical because it's not logical. It's insane behaviour.
Yeah, it is insane.
And people don't realise, and actually doctors don't realise this is what they're doing either, because they're not aware of it. They're not aware of what the science is and where it's coming from. They're just doing what they're told. Yeah.
Which makes you wonder who's telling them.
Well, exactly, yes. But the problem is you can't fix something that's energetic with mechanics. It doesn't work. Yeah. So there is an element of mechanics, but it's not the full element everyone thinks, and those mechanics are controlled by the energy. So you do have to switch the energy off. So the way I look at illness and disease is that the body is made of energy and we need to change the energy imbalance. But I don't look at it like an acupuncturist does, or other energy experts out there who are like Reiki experts and trying to move energy. Yeah. I look at it in a very specific way. Because many years ago, I stumbled upon something that showed me, that was a model of why we become ill based on the types of shocks and traumas that we have in our lives.
Yes.
And it showed me that each organ in our body, so every different organ in our body actually responds to a different type of shock. And if you know the specific type of shock that it's responded to, you can switch the shock off, and then the organ changes back to how it was originally. And this science is actually in a book called Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton's actually a cell biologist. He wrote a great book called Biology of Belief. I highly recommend you read that. And it basically shows us how our cells actually function. Our cells don't function the way traditional medicine would have us believe. And this is a very famous cell biologist. He's
got some great videos. I mean, he does a lot of the stuff about environment and how the environment controls the cell. I mean, I've watched a lot of his stuff and learned a lot of his stuff, but Bruce Lipton is amazing, yeah.
But basically what he states in the book is that when we have something happening in our environment, the perception of what happens goes into our unconscious.
Yes.
The unconscious sends a signal to the cells and then tells the cell how to respond based on how we perceive that event. So if we perceive the event with anger and fear, then we are going to send that into our body, and the cell's going to react with anger and fear and alter its structure and function based on the environment.
So it acts as sort of cell memory?
It becomes a cell memory, yes. Once it's embedded, it becomes a cell memory, and the cell just keeps doing that.
Yes.
But, so but it's not.
Would that then? Because this is not my area of expertise, ladies and gentlemen. But I would imagine then that if the cell was holding that as a cell memory, then the external trigger will get that to repeat. Would that be?
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
As soon as you see the trigger from the memory, the cell then just repeats that function. Yep. So if it's a muscle cell, for instance, and the original trigger was your mum and dad telling you you're useless when you didn't pass an exam. If that hit your self-worth somewhere, let's say it hit your knee, because knees are all about performance and competition. So if it hit your knee, anytime someone gave you that look of disapproval or being told you were useless, your knee will go off.
Do you know what? You're just saying that, right?
Yeah.
When I was, just before I took my exams, and I was 15 and a half, I had won't go there. But anyway, I had a very difficult upbringing.
Right, yeah.
And so just before my exams, I shattered my kneecap.
Yep, there you go. So a lot of people...
You said that, I was just like, oh my God, you talk about exams, talk about knee. That's what happened to me at 15 and a half.
Now, that's an injury, and we will cover injuries hopefully on another podcast, because they are similar but different. But that's exactly what can happen. You can actually injure yourself, and all injuries are results of conflict shocks and union moments.
Yes.
But although that's traditionally not known, in fact, I was talking to a guy the other day on over the internet. I'm working with him. He's in Australia, and I'm working with him with his depression and things like that to heal that. But he came on. He had a really stiff neck, and I said to him, what's happening? And he said, oh, I'm seeing a physio about it. I whacked it when I was skiing, and I've had wry neck for a while, and I just whacked it this weekend when I was skiing. It's really stiff. So I said, do you want me to heal that? And he went, well, yeah, but he didn't really believe me it could, because he just perceived it as an injury that he'd whacked on a ski lift. And so I knew the shock would be related to his business, which was partly what we were lifting, so I knew it was relevant. So I just found the union moment, switched it all off, and within the space of 30 minutes, all of his neck pain had gone, and he felt better about his business as well, because it was connected to his business, and his self-worth had gone up for himself. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe I was able to take his pain away from an injury over the internet, just by clearing the trauma. But you can. I do it a lot with people, and it's quite a simple thing to do with something like that.
Well, this just leads me on to my experience I had before I went on holiday.
Yeah.
So I was in a situation just before I went on holiday, and someone was asking me certain questions about myself and how far I've come, and how, I want to say how successful I've become, but you know what I mean, how successful I'm growing and how quickly things are happening for us. And as soon as they'd ask me the question, then I gave them the answer, then they would attack me. They'd attack me with the answer. And I was like, hang on a minute, right, so you're asking me, you're like setting me up. So you're asking me a question, I'm giving you the answer, and then you're then attacking me for the answer that I give. And I got quite upset about it. I didn't take it out, I just took it on board, and I weren't going to make a big deal out of it, because I sort of realised that it was that person's issue, not mine. And so I just let it go. And anyway, about 2-3 days later, all of a sudden, I had a sore throat. And knowing, obviously, from you, it was sore throat is something I couldn't swallow, which I couldn't swallow because it was found it very difficult to swallow when it just didn't make sense. I found it very difficult to swallow, and my chest was really tight and hurting. And this was as I was flying out on holiday. And I know that had something to do with the anger, because there's little things that I've learnt from yourself. And so when by the time I got to Spain, I had a really sore throat and I had a really tight chest, and I thought, and so I said that to my mum. She goes, I'm doing my mum's voice now. Oh, he got a chest infection coming. Oh, it's rife. Everyone's getting it. Everyone's got it. You've got that thing that's going around. I thought, right. I went, okay, mum, but no, it's not. And so that night, I just basically went into that event where I just went back to the memory of the situation of that person asking me the questions. I literally switched off all the anger, all the guilt, all the shame for not sticking up for myself, and the anger that I had. And when I woke up in the next morning, it had all gone.
Yeah.
The whole lot had gone.
Perfect.
I had no sore throat, no bad chest.
Yeah.
And it was all because I cleared off those things. So it was just really just to prove that our illnesses are
classic
due
example.
to... Yeah.
It's a classic example, especially with flus and viruses and infections and things like that I clear those for people all the time, and traditionally we're taught we catch these things, and we're walking around and we catch them off a work service and people and germs. Complete bollocks. It's a great way to say that, to sell hand gels and things and stuff that you clean work services with. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be neat and tidy and clean. You should be. That's fine. but it's not the way we actually catch things. We don't catch things, and I've proved it so many times. I know it's brand new information, people, and your heads may be exploding. But
probably switching off by now. Are they talking rubbish?
Nonsense. But I've done it so many times. I've done it with viruses, bladder infections, urinary tract infections. I've even switched off a lady's chicken pox for her. Well,
I've got to say, you still not sure, but I remember last year when I had to take my son back. My skin started flaring up. Contact.
Oh, with shingles.
Shingles. So you said, "Oh no, what's it to do? Who are you losing contact with?" I went, "I'm taking my son home in 3 days." He went, "Well, that's what's caused it. Because it was contact skin." And I come and saw you within a week. It had gone. I know you said there was the antivirals help, but I mean, within a week, shingles to go within a week. Yeah. I think you've got to give Jonathan some credit for that one.
I'm not saying, but a lot of people take the medication and sometimes it works. But what happens when it doesn't work? Yeah. If it works, great. But I'm about when it's not working. And the people I see, they've had the infection. So a classic example is a guy who came to me with bronchitis last year. He'd had bronchitis on and off for a year, and he kept going to the doctors, taking stronger and stronger medication. It wasn't getting any better, so he was referred to me. And he was sceptical. He was an open guy to self-development improvement, but he was sceptical because he believed that he'd caught the bronchitis, that the bronchitis was there for some other reason. And that he got an infection in there. Yeah. And I found the conflict shocked, and it was to do with his business partner, and he felt that his space was being invaded, and bronchitis is a territory issue, so it's something in your territory that's made you angry in this particular case. And we cleared it all out, and gradually over a few weeks his bronchitis went down and down and down and down until it was pretty much almost gone. And just at the beginning of this year, I saw him again, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and he said to me, it's funny, he said, because I was sitting just after Christmas outside in the fresh air, and I felt my bronchitis come back a little bit, and I thought, it's because it's really cold. And then he stopped himself and went, oh no. He was actually sitting talking to his business partner, which he hadn't seen for ages, or ex-business partner, which he hadn't seen for ages, and that brought the bronchitis back a little bit, because the conflict hasn't completely healed, because there's a slight environmental part to it, but he's absolutely 95% better with it, and the 5% environment he is resolving, hopefully, as we speak. I still see him for other things, but the bronchitis is pretty much gone now. And all I did was clear the shop, and he couldn't really believe it. He was gobsmacked, and he still went to, it's the weather doing it, even though it had been cleared, because that's the way our mindset is. Well, another lady...
it's funny to say that I do that, so I still do it. I can stop myself doing that now.
Yeah.
The amount of times I think, I know what that is, and I go, can't make up that nonsense, make it up and believe it. And now, obviously, I don't. But even now, even though I know all of this stuff categorically, I still... instinctively will go, I must have caught the what am I doing? No, I haven't caught it.
It's a very hard thing to get out of, because we've been taught this over centuries. It's been indoctrinated into those centuries that we catch things and we're weak and we're powerless and our bodies are fragile. And they're really, really not. They're amazing things, our bodies. And I'm not telling you this to challenge you. I'm telling you this because if you know this information, you can solve flus and colds very easily. You don't have to be off with a flu and a cold.
Well,
some people may take that opportunity.
I solved my chest infection and sore throat overnight.
Exactly, yeah. And if you know what you're doing, you can resolve these things very quickly. One of my clients called me up on his honeymoon, and her honeymoon, her husband had gone down ill on the flight over there, and she didn't want her husband ill for 2 weeks because he was actually quite ill.
Selfish of her.
That's very selfish, yes, I know. And I just came on Skype with him and found the conflict and switched it off, and within 36 hours he was fine.
Yeah.
I did a similar thing with a lady's bladder infection. The lady with chicken pox, she's a good friend of mine. She was due to fly to America for her work. She had to be there. She called me 2 days before she was due to fly and said, I've been grounded by the doctor because I got chicken pox. Anything you can do. So I spent an hour that night with her, switching it off, switching the shock off. I spent an hour the next morning, I think, switching it off. She went to the doctor. Within, again, 24 hours, she'd healed. Her spots had gone and everything, and she went back to the doctor, and the doctor gave her permission to fly. I have no idea what the doctor thought. The doctor thought that must be quite miraculous, because everyone knows.
She was faking it the first time round.
Well, no, because the spots were there. I mean, you can see chickenpox. That's the thing. She looked. I mean, I when she came on Skype, you could see she was not right. She was not well. You see the spots and all the camel lotion she had all over her face, and it's a very visual thing. And the doctors told her she could fly.
Yeah, I think the problem is, and this is the key thing, is that it's very difficult for people to to look at things differently when everybody's being told the same nonsense.
That's the problem.
And the other thing as well is that it's all fundamentally to push a product onto you. So it'll either be a cream, or it'll be a tablet, or it'll be some medicine of some variety. Now, and when actually, realistically, if we looked at all of this in a slightly different way and realised that actually the illnesses are being caused from some sort of suppressed emotion, or some emotional shock or trauma or whatever, or something that's happened in your environment that can create that, then people would start to look at it differently. But the problem is that people love to information repeat, and I can imagine. And I'm not having a dig at but I can imagine all the school mums all talking at the thing. Oh yeah, my boy's got this. Oh yeah. They've all got it at the moment. Yeah. Oh, you need to go and see him. The doctor told me blah blah blah, and then they tell them, and they tell them, and they tell them, and they tell them, and it's just like, and it just goes round and round and round and round, and everyone's information repeating as experts, because we all like to be experts in information repeating because we've heard it and repeated it. But actually, it's what happens is it keeps us trapped in this paradigm of traditional viewpoints that don't fundamentally really benefit us.
No, it doesn't, and we do, because we've been taught that so much. That's what we talk about. I fixed a lady's back pain. She twisted in a chair and twisted her legs around and then pulled her back, and she went to see a chiropractor, and it didn't really do much to go and see the chiropractor. She was still in pain. And she would have gone for weeks. Yeah, she would have gone for weeks. That chiropractor who gradually got better, but she had stuff to do. Now I was already treating her for something else. So when I came on for session, I said, "How are you?" And she said, "Oh, I'm in pain." I said, "Why?" And she said, "I've pulled my back." I said, "Well, let's fix it." Even though I'd sold her other pain, because she correlated it with an injury that she did, she couldn't see how it could be fixed. So I just went in, found the shock, switched off the shock. I did 2 mini sessions with her, and within a few days her pain had gone. But the point is, when she told everyone what had happened and how she solved her pain, they didn't believe her. They were like, well, it's not, they couldn't go. But she was up walking around with no pain, but they still couldn't grasp the concept. Yeah. But it saved her money.
I've got a client.
It saved her time and money by doing it that way.
Yeah, I know. And the other thing, I've got a client that's basically come and saw me. She's been seeing me a while now, and she told her friend that just by coming to see me and me clearing up all of her past lots of traumas and beliefs that she's had, by clearing them up, she's lost the best part of, I think it must be coming up to about 1.5 stone now.
Yeah.
Right? When she told her friend that's the reason why I haven't done anything, I've just basically cleared my traumas and then all the weight's just fallen off. Her friend told her she was talking out of her backside and it was nonsense. Right. Even though she'd experienced it, the person who hasn't seen me, doesn't know what I'm doing, doesn't really know what's going on, knew more than the pair of us.
Yeah, apparently, they do. They seem to know more, apparently, than the people actually experiencing the treatment. Yeah. And that is another problem. People...
It is a problem.
They're very... Because it's their writing on the wall. So if you really believe something, it's your writing on the wall, and this is challenging your writing on the wall. It's an expression that Gary Craig, who created EFT, came out with, and I love that expression. When you challenge someone's belief systems, it can be very hard for them. But it happens every single day. I do it with people constantly. And there's so much science behind it. Read the Bruce Lipton's Sell Biology of Belief. Yeah. The information I told you about where doctors got their theory from, that's science. That's not some weird hippie, Jesus-looking person and some gangster sitting next to me type bloke who's just making it up. Blood. Yeah, I know. It's actually science. It's based in science. Yeah. It's just you don't hear of that. So what we're going to do today is we've given some examples. We're going to run through some of the things that I've solved with looking at it this way, and the exact scientific way I do look at it, because it is a scientific process. It's not something I've just made up. It just, and I've sold a lot of my own illnesses and diseases that I suffered with as well from shocks that I've had. Yeah. So I experienced it myself. And don't get me wrong, when I first learned this, I didn't believe it as well. I was trained in traditional medicine. I was trained in traditional pain, and I didn't really grasp it myself. I was open enough to go with it, but I didn't totally believe it until I'd experienced it, until I'd done it on myself, done it on other people, and seen results over 20 years of working with people. And I get people come to me with pain and illness that other people have not been able to solve, where they've been left stuck because they've just been given up on, and which is tragic. I hate that. Does my head in. And within a few weeks, I've been able to fix it. And half of those people did not believe me.
I think the other thing as well for me is that I like to think I'm quite an intelligent guy, and I do my research and I understand things very, very well. And so, I would always go and look at specific reasons why and find a traditional viewpoint. And so it's really funny now going into having this belief about what causes what.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden meeting you and learning new information and going, oh, hang on a minute. That actually, none of that really actually works, and you're probably quite right. I'm open to being open to new information, and then going out the other side and actually experiencing it and thinking, "Oh my God," and then thinking like you want to tell the whole world, don't you?
Yeah,
you feel like you need to tell the whole world. Yeah, hang on, whoa.
But the whole world is not quite ready for it just yet.
No,
They're
exactly.
They want, for some reason, we want to believe we're a victim to our problems, and this is what I hate. The traditional model just leaves you a victim to your problem. I'm not telling you to change your beliefs or make you see it. I'm telling you this because if you adopt this and think about it like this, you no longer have to suffer. You no longer have to be a victim and be ill and unwell. If you choose to do that, fine. But don't.
You're not getting any sympathy off of us.
But well, it's not that. It's just that it can be changed. But if you keep thinking the way you do, it will never be changed.
Yes,
there's a lot of people out there who don't want to suffer, and the reason they suffer is because of the way they've been told illness and disease work. Now, I'm not the first person to say this is how it works. There's plenty of other people out there saying it. But what I'm going to explain to you in a moment is a very specific science behind it, and that's what a lot of people don't know. And that allows me to find the root of it very quickly, and then with the DTO system, switch it off.
Switch it off, yeah.
So I've explained a little bit about traditional model, and we've talked about Bruce Lipton a little bit. I highly recommend his book. But now I want to talk about the actual science behind it. So there's three main things we really want to cover. There's the two phases of illness and disease. There's the Udin moment, and then there's the way to switch it off, which is the DTO system, which is my system. So the first part of it is the two phases. Now, the two phases, very, very briefly, it's better with a diagram, but obviously we're on audio right now. You have a nervous system in your body called your central nervous system, which is split up into two main parts, your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Forget the complicated names, we're just going to call them stress and repair. So your sympathetic is your stress, your parasympathetic is your repair. Now, whatever symptom you have, no matter what symptom you go through, it falls into one of those two boxes, the stress or the repair. Every symptom. However, traditional medicine keep them separate. They know that if you have a symptom, you're in one of those two boxes, but they keep them separate. They don't even really look at what box you're in. However, in reality, the two boxes are actually connected, and you move from the stress to the repair in a natural process. Now, to explain this process is natural every single day of your life. You're doing it all day long. So when you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed, you are putting yourself under a slight stress.
Cells naturally do that anyway, don't they?
They do, they're naturally doing it. So when you get up in the morning, you step out of the bed, you're putting your body into a slight stress. And walking around, moving around, you are slightly stressing your body. At night, when you sit down and relax, you move into repair. So any damage you did, anything you did that was too much, you'll feel tired, you'll feel exhausted, you might be achy and sore, and that's your repair phase. Exercise does the same thing. When you're actually exercising, you are putting yourself into the stress state by doing the physical exercise, and then later on, you're sore and you ache. That's the repair phase. Bodybuilders do this on purpose. Bodybuilders will stress the muscle so much they'll tear it. That's the stress part. Then later on it will burn. That's the repair part. But they know that to make the muscle stronger, they actually have to weaken it first by tearing it. So it's a natural process all day long. When we're working and we have a holiday, we've got the stress of work. When you go away and you relax, you go into repair state, and you often come out with a flu or virus.
Well, I was like that for 2 days myself.
Exactly. Not because you've caught a flu or virus, but because you've gone into repair. So this process happens naturally every day in lots of ways. But if the process gets started unnaturally with a Udin moment, and I'll explain the Udin moment in a minute, then the process now starts unnaturally, and now you have emotions and thoughts in there which shouldn't be there. And now you get stuck in one of the two phases. You either get stuck in stress or you get stuck in repair. Now, common symptoms of stress, so you know if you're in stress, are cold fingers and toes, obsessive thinking, loss of sleep, loss of appetite, reduction in weight, so you lose weight, constipation. These are all typical stress states.
I've been stressed
General
all year.
stress that you have, exactly, yeah. I wonder what that was. So these are... is that me, is it?
Yeah,
so me. That's what it is, yeah, you've been in constant stress. And typical repair states are calm thoughts, so quiet mind, feeling tired, diarrhea, warm hands and toes, digestion, appetite returns. These are all common symptoms of the repair state. Now, each organ in your body has a different symptom in stress and repair, a very specific one. And that's important for the practitioners to know of this so you can solve the problem, but that's too complicated. I'm not going to that now. But it's important to know that you move from stress to repair. And it's a beautiful, beautiful process. And I'm going to give you some examples of this. So, for instance, the lady I mentioned with the back pain, who she twisted her legs and thought she'd injured herself. Basically what happened is she was in a stress beforehand about something. She sat down in the garden and relaxed. And when she relaxed, she moved into repair. And when she moved into repair, that's when she pulled a muscle. Because the Udin moment, the shock, was about her self-worth, it was about her feeling walked over, it hit her lower back. Because that's what the lower back's about, feeling walked over or your core values gone against. And when she moved, it just went into repair. She thought it was a bad thing, but actually, no, it's a good thing. Repair is actually a good thing. What's not good is you shouldn't get stuck in it. And a lot of people get stuck in repair because they don't understand the Udin moment.
Yes.
Another example is a lady who came to me with bleeding from her uterus. She was growing fibroids and then she'd bleed them out. She'd grow fibroids, bleed them out. And this is a classic example of people not understanding the two phases. So she had this for 8 years. She was under medical treatment. She's been on medication to control it, but it was no longer doing that. And the doctor said she needed a hysterectomy. She did not want a hysterectomy. She went to a herbalist, and the herbalist said it would stop the bleeding, but it appeared to make the bleeding worse. So this is, if you understand the two phases, this is what has happened. 8 years ago, she was in stress. When she's growing the fibroids, that's a stress state. That's your sympathetic nervous system. But when you bleed them out, that's the repair phase. So the bleeding's actually a good thing. It really is, but it's not good if you keep repeating it. That's bad. So she's stuck in the process.
Yeah.
The herbalist just moved her through the repair phase further, but it didn't take her out the other side to health. It just moved her through it further, so the bleeding sped up. So when she came to me, got referred to me, we only had about 6 weeks to resolve this. I found the Udin moment, I found the shock that had created the process in the first place, switched it off. I told her what would happen. I said the bleeding would speed up a little bit and it would gradually pitter down, because that's what happens as you move through repair when it comes to that scenario. And she was a bit nervous about that because she'd never been told something like that before, because nobody can tell you what's going to happen generally with symptoms. But if you understand this, you can. And that's exactly what happened. A week and a half, it sped up, it got a bit worse, and it gradually pittered out. And she was absolutely fine. And within 4 weeks, she was told by a doctor she no longer needed a hysterectomy. Flus and colds, another very brief example. This guy with bronchitis that I told you about, he had this problem with his business partner. As he was trying to resolve it, the bronchitis came out and it was trying to heal, but he couldn't heal it completely because the shock was still running. The guy was still in his environment and it was really, really stressing him. So if you understand the process, another one of my friends actually, a very good example of the two phases, is she went down with a cold once a week, every month for good 4 or 5 months. So every week out of every month, she would have this streaming nose and cold. And after a while, she's got fed up with it. And then it hit July. She had it since January. It hit July, and it came out for 3 weeks solid. She just couldn't get rid of it, no matter what she did. She felt dreadful. She was tired, exhausted. Yeah. So she came to me and she said, "Right, okay, well, can you help?" I said, "Yes." I said, "What was a shock in January that got up your nose to do your territory that you couldn't digest?" And she went, "Well," she said, "I went to my boss at work and I said, can I have my usual holiday in July that I normally do have, that she had every year for 7 or 8 years?" And the boss went, "No." Instant Udin moment, instant shock. She'd already booked the holiday because she had it every year. Yeah. So she went to shock, she stressed about it. And for 3 weeks out of every month, she would stress about it. But the week where she'd gone to her boss, the same days in the month where she'd gone to her boss, she went into repair. And so
she unconsciously on a cycle.
She's on a cycle now of resolving it for a week, then going back to stress. Yeah. And in July, what happened was she'd gone back to her boss again and said, "Look, can I have this time?" And the boss went, "Yeah, of course you can." And as soon as it resolved environmentally, it started streaming, but she couldn't stop it because she was still so angry, so resentful that her boss had caused all this stress for literally no reason at all. And all I did, I cleared that moment of shock when she asked her boss, and within 24 hours, 36 hours, the cold had completely vanished. And it was really, really simple, but I understood these two phases. Now, once you understand the two phases, you then go, well, what starts the two phases unnaturally? And that is a Udin moment.
Yes.
And a Udin moment is something unexpected, dramatic, isolating, with no coping strategy. And if you have a Udin moment, it puts you into these two phases, and it can be small or it can be big. You know, one of my clients went into a Udin moment because his girlfriend insulted his car, and it hit his lower back. Other clients have been into Udin moments because they've been abused or raped. Other clients have just heard something that triggered them, or saw something quite innocuous or simple, but it triggered them into this Udin moment.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that I work with, especially with the emotional side of stuff, it's them Udin moments that but they think that they don't understand that that's what's actually causing the problem.
No.
They're too busy thinking about the problem. Oh, I've got self-worth issues. Well, no, that's the symptom.
That's the symptom.
The cause is the Udin moment.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you understand the Udin moment, you can find it very quickly. So the model I follow is not about finding the emotions or the thoughts. I don't go, what's the anger or the fear, because that's, again, an old model, but you could be angry and fearful about lots of things.
Yeah.
I actually feed in what the Udin moment is. So if someone comes to me, with a shoulder pain, for instance, I will say to them, what happened? It was unexpected, dramatic, isolating, with no coping strategy, where you felt burdened, and it affected your self-worth. Yeah. And depending on what side it is, I'll go perhaps father or partner or business, or if it's other side, I might go mother, baby, nest, and they'll instantly know what it was. I had a client come to me the other day, and she's been suffering with vertigo and dizziness, and she's got lots of other problems, and she's tired of it. She had it for months, and she actually works local to me, and I keep seeing, and I said, come and see me. She finally decided to come and see me, and I fed in the shock. I said, what is it that's unjust, that's knocked you off balance? She went, oh my God, it's work.
Yeah.
Instantaneously, she knew what it was, and we started switching it off. So when you feed the Udin moment incorrectly, the information comes up. So the two really important key things there are a Udin moment, which then moves you into the two phases.
Yeah.
And this is all, the two phases is actually medicine. It's actually your nervous system. Yeah. The only thing that is slightly unusual is the Udin moment. But the two phases is actually your nervous system at work. So it's all your body. It's all anatomy and physiology.
Yes.
So that's not weird.
Process.
It's a natural process.
Normal response.
All we're saying that starts this normal response into a negative response is a shock, which is not really that weird if you think about it, because think about what stresses you out in life. Think about the things that shock you and upset you. Yeah. The one thing we've all got in life that we all have is shocks.
Yeah, we all have, and they're happening all the time, shocks and trauma. And we said this in the last podcast where, you get different levels. People think that a trauma is where sometimes, you got sucked out of a window of a plane at 30,000 feet and landed in a pond and narrowly survived. And that must have been traumatic. Yeah. Or, you got thrown out of a car window doing 125 miles an hour down a country lane and survived. No, the traumas are just shocks. And they're just shocks. And they can start from really low level stuff, very, very simple level. Yeah. For example, I can jump out of a bathroom and make you jump.
Yes.
So that would be a
that's right. That'd be a shock.
I could jump, boom, and that gives you a shock. But so that when somebody makes you jump, just to convey this to the listeners, that's an emotional shock. And if you can understand that every time you have something like that emotionally or mentally or whatever it is, they can start off there to the point that you've actually been sucked out of a plane and 30,000 feet.
Let me clarify. Someone jumping out of a bar is not going to make you ill.
No, but I'm trying to get them so they understand what the shock is.
Yeah, that's the feeling of a shock. But for a shock to actually make you ill or create a disease in you, it has to have those four things. It must be unexpected. Yeah. It must be dramatic. Yeah. It must be, and doesn't mean that there are explosions and fireworks everywhere. It just means you made it dramatic. Yeah. It must be isolating, so you felt
surprised
like
in most of the population then, aren't they?
Exactly, they are. It must be isolating, and you must have no coping strategy. So unexpected, dramatic, isolating with no coping strategy. If the shock you have is one of those four things, regardless how severe the shock is, how minor or major it is, if it's one of those four things, depending on how you've perceived it, it can hit the body, hit an organ, and then create the illness and diseases like flus, viruses, arthritis, fibromyalgia, autoimmune problems, from simple ones right the way through to very serious diseases. And by understanding this process in the body, you can actually resolve pain and illness fairly quickly.
Because once you switch off the union moment, the body naturally goes back into repair, and then ultimately would reduce the chemicals or whatever's causing that weakness.
It does. Once you switch off the union moment or union moments and the triggers, the body moves into repair and then comes out the other side of repair and you heal.
Yeah.
But the problem is most people are stuck in the repair state. That's why they're ill, because the process has been triggered unnaturally. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, especially counselors and psychologists, if you go to counsellor psychologists and they're looking at illness and disease and they look for trauma, you may not have trauma. So they won't understand why you're ill. So when you go with anxiety sometimes, they'll look and go, well, you haven't got any trauma. So they blame the chemicals in your brain. But it's not trauma, it's a Udin moment you're looking for. It's something unexpected, dramatic, isolated, with no coping strategy. That doesn't have to be traumatic, and this is where they go wrong. And so then they blame other things like the chemicals in your brain, or it's just who you are. No, you're looking
they give it labels.
Or they give it labels.
ADHD or
stuff like that. Where actually it's just a Udin moment.
Yeah.
So the two things I want you to take away from this are the Udin moment, something that shocks you, and this two-phase principle of understanding your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. If you can understand this, and this is a very basic understanding, by the way, guys, it's quite in-depth stuff, and it's, if you can understand a little bit of it and take away what I've said, then it will help you a little bit understand why your body's ill. And the other thing that can keep pain and illness running, and I want you to understand this as well, although we have talked about it before, is guilt and shame. So one thing that actually can cause us to be ill and can actually cause us to not want to get better is guilt and shame. And if that is running, if there's guilt and shame in the Udin moment, that can actually keep you ill or create the illness and stop you from wanting to get better. And it can actually cause you to do all the things that you know won't help you deep down. Yeah. And make it look like you're trying to get better, but you really know you're not going to. And your guilt and shame keeps you away from that. And I often find sometimes that people who sometimes call me up, they don't come and see me because they know I can get them better, and their guilt and shame won't allow that.
That's spot on, and that's what I get all the time. Because as soon as I tell them this stuff, you can literally hear the silence on the end of the phone of them shifting, going, shit.
Yeah, yeah, you can hear their fear.
You can literally feel it or hear it.
Yeah.
You can. So it's a really strange. That's a really strange thing, but I know when I tell somebody, do you know what, I will fix you, I will heal you, I will sort that, it will go away like magic. Yeah. And you can hear the energy change, if that makes any sense. You can hear the change in silence.
You can hear the change. You can, because someone who is running guilt and shame, they are. It's not they don't want to get better logically, but the guilt and shame is saying they don't deserve to get better, or they're not good enough, they're not worthy of getting better because of something they've done in the past. Yeah. And tragically, that guilt and shame is not real, it's an illusion, and you shouldn't feel that way. But I understand why people do. I've been there myself, and Stephen's been there as well. I've been there. But we do notice that with the odd client who bring... I mean, I don't get many clients like that now. Most clients call me up, they really want to get better, and they come and see me. But every now and again, I do get the odd one, especially with autoimmune disease. I want to point this out. Autoimmune disease has a lot of guilt and shame attached to it. So if you're suffering autoimmune disease and you're struggling to get better, please ask yourself what your guilt and shame is, and kind of override it, so or find someone to help you fix it, because that is causing you to stay ill. Your guilt and shame is actually keeping you stuck and stopping you from moving on, and it's one of the key things you have to resolve first before you even find Udin moments and start going through the process. And just clearing a lot of your guilt and shame will actually switch a lot of it off anyway.
I'll tell you what I will say is that clearing a lot of my guilts and shames in the last, what are we coming up to now? I think we're about 13 months now I've been doing this. I think it's about 13 months. And I've been obviously at it like a rabbit. But I've been working very I've been working really hard on this stuff, because once I realised it, but I can actually tell you now that, and listeners, of how much healthier I feel and I am, and how much calmer I am, and how less ill I get. I haven't hardly been ill at all. No. And
how good you're back.
It's fine. It's fine. It's really good. Yeah. It's just it's absolutely. It's getting stronger actually. I've noticed that, because I've even been thinking about going to the gym and starting to work out. But just to clearing the guilt and the shames. It's all been clearing guilt, shames, and the alones and the loneliness, and it's made a whole difference to my life. Yeah,
and it will do. If you just clear that alone, that will resolve so many issues. But the trick is you have to find it, and sometimes guilt and shame is buried deep. and you don't always know you feel guilt and ashamed about things, and you may sit there with I don't feel guilty at all.
We'll lie.
I guarantee you do.
We lie. We love lying to myself about stuff.
But no, it can be hidden under anger, resentment, betrayal, injustice.
Yeah.
It's often hidden. You have to know some questions to get to the bottom of it. But if you do have an autoimmune disease or an illness like that, it is literally run by a lot of guilt and shame. So please, guilt and shame is an illusion. I understand you may have done something you feel bad about. I understand that you may have said things or done things that you know are not you, that you feel dreadfully ashamed about. But if you carry that guilt and shame with you, it will just actually create more of that bad behaviour, or it will create behaviour in another way, or it just ultimately keep you stuck and ill, and nobody deserves that. If I had the worst person in the world in here, a murderer or an abuser, I would say the same thing to them, because it would actually keep them doing the bad behaviour.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone ill or unwell. They would be able to change that behaviour, and by clearing those guilts and shames. And I truly believe that, and I've worked with lots of different problems, and once I find the guilt and shame, and I switch that off, then a lot of the problems go away. And I know through my own life of discovering this and Stephen.
Yeah, all the stuff that we've spoken to us about before, was some of the guilts that I removed. Now all of a sudden I don't even think about it. I used to know what I'd done when I was very, very a lot younger, and I was a little bit of a naughty boy back in the day. But now those have gone, and I've switched those off. It's very difficult to explain, but they're no longer in my consciousness. They're no longer in my energy. They're no longer there.
No.
It's like erased from the hard drive.
And here's the thing. Having cleared those guilts and shames, have you turned into a worse person?
Yes, by 100 times worse.
You do seem worse. You seem absolutely dreadful. I'm actually fighting for my life as I sit here right now.
Take that gun away from my head.
Yes, exactly.
You're probably a witness to it myself, but I've gone through probably 4 or 5 transformations over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So, but again, those transformations and those changes and the ability to be able to really grow as a person is because of removing the guilts and shames. They've been the core.
But you haven't turned into a bad person by clearing guilt and shame. You've turned into a better person.
Yes, 100%.
You've turned it.
Absolutely.
Steve, when I met Stephen, he was angry. He wanted to punch the world, basically. I mean, if he could, he would have. He was very angry, very bitter, very resentful, and his actions, to the way he acted around people, was actually quite negative. Yeah, by clearing his guilts and shames out, it didn't make him a worse person. He didn't start acting behaviour or doing more bad things. He actually changed his behaviour and started being a better person. Now, that person was always in Stephen. It was just buried under the anger, the resentment, and the guilt and shame. The guilt and shame actually caused him to stay more angry and be more aggressive with people, because he felt so guilt and ashamed about stuff from the past.
I had a lot of stuff happen to me, and it's like a huge amount of stuff. It's not like, I don't want to sound like, I'm a martyr, or whatever it would be.
Do you want me to start playing a violin for you?
Yeah, exactly. But that's the reason why I was behaving in that way.
That's right.
Because it was so, I accumulated more and more. And the more I accumulated, the more I attracted. The more I accumulated, so it just, it grew exponentially to the point where I was angry with the world, because I really felt that I'd gone into fear, victim, and suffering mentality.
Yeah.
And I really felt that life had chucked me. I was unlucky.
Life chucked you a bad deal.
I had a bad deal.
And a lot of people believe that. They believe that life is bad and horrible, and God is having a go at them, and it's not. And it's actually, all it is just your traumas from the past and your guilt and shame.
And like I said, I've probably gone through 5 transformations in the last 2 years, and here I am now, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
And for anyone who knows Stephen, if you're listening, he has completely transformed. And it's always amazing me still. I still see the transformation in people, and it happens almost instantaneously sometimes. But Stephen is just a completely different person from when I first met him. Although if you see his photo on his website, he does still look like a gangster.
Yeah.
At the moment, we are working on changing that though. But actually, if you look at him now, his face is completely different. He smiles. His eyes are light. He's colour in his face again. He's happier. He's more relaxed. We were only saying before we did the podcast, you haven't got that jerky energy. Yeah. But what I'm trying to point is that the guilt and shame, taking out guilt and shame.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
So when we went to when we got to the customs, we have to show their passport.
Oh yeah.
I had a little joke with the woman.
Yeah.
I said, don't joke about it now. I said I'm a lot older now than there. She went, oh, now bearing in mind that photograph was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. She said to me, Well, you look younger now. You actually look younger now than what you do on the photograph.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like 6 years.
6 years ago, and that's that's a positive side effect of clearing trauma and negative emotions, that you actually start to look younger. And I saw a lady a couple of weeks ago, and I saw her again this week. So I saw her last week for the first time. She came again this week, and she instantaneously looked younger just from one session of clearing out how she felt about her son going to school.
I've witnessed it in here with people when I've cleared that last thing.
Yeah.
You see, it's like it's a bit weird. It's a bit like a holographic film. Just all of a sudden the face seems to just look differently and younger.
Yeah,
and it's like an instant you go, "Whoa, what happened there?" It's like electronic, like someone's done some graphic work on them, and it happens live right in front of your face.
Yeah, it's like they Photoshop right in front of you, live.
It does, doesn't it?
Live Photoshop right there. But no, that really happens with people. It's quite miraculous, and I know it sounds magical and out there, but it happens every day.
Yeah,
it's a positive side effect of doing DTO. In fact, I had a lady come and see me, and she was so down on herself. Her self-worth was so low, and she thought she was vile and disgusting. And she'd been going to counselling for 18 months to resolve this, and within 3 weeks, that's all gone of doing it. And she looks younger already, and fitter and healthier, and she's more confident in herself.
Yeah,
and she doesn't think she's vile anymore. Yeah. This trauma and these guilts and shames create a lot of problems, and they can keep illness and disease running, and it also stops you from wanting to get better. And I see a lot of people, especially with autoimmune problems, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all those sorts of problems, they don't want to get better because they feel so guilty and ashamed about something. And I get it. I've been there myself. When I was very ill, I the one thing that got me out of it was actually healing my guilt and shame, because I realised that's what was going on, and I realised I was keeping myself stuck, that I was punishing myself. I deserved to be ill, and I deserved to be unwell and not be successful because I felt so guilty and ashamed about something from the past.
Yeah.
And this was a revelation to me. I didn't know this was in there, but when I found it, for a few weeks I found it and then went, I couldn't clear it. I blocked myself. I did. I do it. I've done it as well. But then after that I just went, I can't do this anymore. This is not fair. I want to be healthy and well, and I started healing that, and since then I've got better and better. So I'll cover very briefly the 3 key components to illness and disease are understanding the Udin moment, something that shocks you, understanding the 2 phases, the stress and repair phase, and they're actually connected, and you move from stress to repair, and understanding that guilt and shame keeps the process running and causes you to stay ill when there's actually no reason to at all. We're not putting down any other treatments. We're not saying you shouldn't go to the doctors or anything like that. What we're saying is what you're trying is not working, if you're not getting better, if you've been told nothing can be done, and you really want help, and if you can find us, maybe you can hire... Oh, that's the A-team, isn't it? Sorry, wrong show, folks. No, what I'm saying is if nothing works and you want to get better, or you've been told nothing can be done, then contact me and Stephen. We work with problems like that all the time. I certainly do. I get people come to me when they've tried everything and nothing's worked. And 90% of the time with people, I can help them get better by following this model, by following the 2 phases, the Udin moment, clearing guilt and shame, clearing triggers. And you've experienced, although illness and disease is your expertise, you've noticed things change naturally just by clearing trauma. Yeah,
well, not only that as well. I mean, there's certain things that I do know. Obviously talking to you, so once I get it, once I know what part of the body relates to the thing, I get it straight away and I'll clear it and it'll heal up. So I don't have a problem with that, and I know I can get you at the end of the phone, no problems. But for me, I've noticed how much healthier people are getting every week just by coming and seeing me for an hour, switching off all their guilt and shames and dealing with their traumas, and they're getting healthier. I mean, there's that girl, she lost 1.5 stone in...
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And how long has she been trying to lose that weight for?
A year, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say years.
Yeah, years. Well, most people do. That's another positive side effect of clearing trauma. You just drop off weight, generally. So it's very important to clear your past and your trauma. And you may not, as I said, it's not trauma, it's a shock. It's a Udin moment. It's something unexpected, dramatic, isolating with no coping strategy. I hope that's been useful. Obviously, that's a really brief understanding of illness and disease, and at some point we may cover specific illness and disease, and I'll take you through exactly the root Udin moment and shock for those illness and diseases, which will probably be very beneficial for you guys. But that was a brief overview of it. And if you have any questions, then you can contact me and Stephen through our websites.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can contact me on healingthemind.co.uk. You can find Jonathan on his website, which is www.decodingpain.com. You can contact us by email if you have a specific request, or if you have something you'd like us to cover, or if there's some questions you would like us to discuss on the podcast. You can contact insideouteffect@gmail.com. Don't forget that you can go on to Eventbrite if you're in the UK, or specifically in the London, Essex area, and book tickets for the Law of Attraction event, which we're holding on the 17th of August at the Lavender Rooms in Thurrock. Myself and Jonathan will be discussing how to make Law of Attraction work for you and how to remove the blocks. And also, if you're going to be listening to this in the next 7 days, we're in an exhibition at the Dovedale Centre in Chelmsford.
We're at the expo, yes.
So we'll be doing that, and that's really our official launch of the Inside Out Effect as a business.
What date's that? Thursday the
25th.
25th. We'll be there, yes.
And we will be showing off our wares and obviously trying to...
You keep your wares to yourself.
Cheers, mate, I will. Yeah. They've been kept to themselves for a while now.
Have they? Okay, that's...
so we'll be basically at the business exhibition trying to encourage businesses to get us into their framework, and obviously we can switch off stuff like stress and health issues for individual members of staff and clients, and obviously even at the higher level, board level and director level, because I imagine there's a lot of stress. Well, having come from that environment myself already, I know what goes on there. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I think next week we did promise, because I've had a few people inquire and send in stuff to us about the second Law of Attraction.
We're going to do Law of Attraction Part 2.
Law of Attraction Part 2.
The Revenge.
I believe that's what we wanted to do, wasn't it?
Great, yeah, we know we want to do Law of Attraction
So
Part
let's
2.
cover that, because I think that's probably about the right time as well, because we're going to be doing these talks, and so...
Yeah, they're hugely popular. Law of Attraction is a massively popular subject.
You had a full house again on Saturday, didn't you?
I had an absolute full house. It was packed out.
All four people.
All four people, yeah, they was over there. No, the room was packed. It's only a small room in Lavender Rooms. It's an absolutely beautiful room. She's got a lovely house and a lovely home.
Lady as well.
Rachel's absolutely gorgeous, and it was all tickets were sold out. Everyone attended and loved it and asked lots of questions and hope they learned. And I know for a fact one lady went away because I taught a very basic way to clear your guilts and shames on the training. I know for a fact one lady went away and cleared one of her guilts and her problem just vanished. She actually messaged Jackie, the lady who organised it, and said, "Oh my God, my problem's gone." Just from that one little technique that I taught her. And the other thing that we are thinking about doing is setting up little workshops.
I was just about to say this.
You stole
my thunder. Great.
We're about to set up some workshops to like half-day workshops teaching the DTO system to heal Law of Attraction and to heal your traumas and past guilts and shames to get Law of Attraction to work for you. And we'll be starting that very soon. So if you're interested in learning that, you're in the UK and you're in the Essex area and you want to come along to that, then let us know.
It'd be highly worthwhile anybody travelling a long way to come and do that, because it's life-changing, mate.
Yeah, you will heal stuff in a few hours that you've not been able to heal before in the past.
Yeah.
Things will just drop out of your system.
And not only that as well, so you'll start attracting stuff into your life as well, because we will also be showing you how to remove the guilt and shames that are blocking what you're attracting in life. And it's really strange, like I thought it was all hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo magic, but the more I do this, the more stuff. Yes. Unbelievable. When we got that phone call, you set up the business, within 4 hours somebody's phoning us up. We haven't even advertised it, so there's proof it works.
It works perfectly well. You just need to know how to evoke it.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to leave that there. Hopefully you'll taken a lot from our podcast, and please like, share and spread the word about what Jonathan and myself can do. I'm your host, Stephen Jakes. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us once again, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been fun. It's been, as always, it's good to have you back.
Cheers, mate. It's nice to be back. And so we'll see you next week we will do the Law of Attraction and Revenge Part 2. And so that's goodbye from me, and from you, Jonathan.
Goodbye from him. Good night.
Goodbye. See you later.